Hey guys, what's up? Josh Olfert back with another video here, and today we're going to talk about alternative investments and collectibles. What are these things? Why are they so popular? Why are people talking about them? How is it you can make money on wine or art? And how is a guy like Gary Vee telling all of his audience and his followers that they need to start buying sports cards? Time to think like an investor. All right, so firstly, I want to talk about the biggest alternative investment I ever made, and I don't even know how purposeful it was, how much I was actually trying to make an alternative investment, but it was in the back of my mind. The story goes like this. I'm trying to start my business. I'm trying to become a successful guy. And a lot of my peers and a lot of the people around me are having a ton of success. They're making a lot of money. They're becoming very successful people with their businesses. And they get into all these fun little hobbies like cars and, buying cool art and buying jewelry. And one thing that always fascinated me when I was, looking through the magazines of cool vehicles and stuff is the idea of really nice watches. So I always thought, a really nice Swiss automatic watch was a really cool thing. And my friends had started buying them, and they were buying $10,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 watches at the time. And I thought to myself, whoa, like maybe to fit in with their circle and to shield my insecurities while I was starting my business, I would go and get myself a really nice watch so I felt like I could fit in. And that's exactly what I did. So I remember going through this certain magazine and flipping through and seeing this bright green Rolex and thinking to myself, wow, like green's my favorite color. I absolutely love that color on everything. And I thought, okay, that's the watch for me. Business had been going okay. There was enough money around for me to make a discretionary purchase. I had, people in my ear all the time, like, Josh, you're such a frugal guy. Like, why don't you do something fun with the money you have, whatever. And I started to think to myself, the idea of the watch became a little more tempting. And I eventually just went into the jewelry store, a local one here, and it turns out that the owner of the store is an alumni from the high school I went to, and we knew each other, and we had a bunch of mutual friends. I said to him, okay, I'm getting my career started, and I'm starting to have some success in the investment industry, and I want to get myself a nice watch, something, that just looks classy and I can wear anywhere, and I want something that might even go up in value. So I was thinking in my head, one of the main reasons I was attracted by watches or jewelry that my friends were doing is they had actually been making money on theirs. They would buy a $20,000 watch and it would go up to $25,000. Like they would make money to wear it. So I thought that's fascinating. What if I could have, even if it doesn't go up, even if it just maintains its value, then at least I have an asset. So I talked to the gentleman there and he says, okay, there's one watch here that I'm pretty certain, is very difficult to get. It's a limited edition. It is pricey, but it will go up in value in my opinion. And I said, oh, that sounds really interesting. Which one is it? And he says, well, we don't have one here because it's not in stock. We're gonna have to order it in, but it's this. And he flips open to a page and it's that green Rolex I had seen a couple of years prior in a magazine. And I thought, okay, that's crazy. It was some sort of serendipity thing. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it. So that day I said, yep, let's do it. So what I had to do is I had to put down a $1,000 deposit. The watch was $12,000. It was absolutely obscene the lengths I was going to buy this material good and all that sort of stuff. But nevertheless, I was really excited. And he said, okay, well, it's going to take a year to get that watch in because we only get a certain allocation. We don't get these every month. It's gonna take a year. So I had to put a deposit down for a year. And luckily around that time, it was like probably June, July. And what had happened was the 3 people on the list in front of me, because there were many people who wanted it, one of them had been waiting for a year already. And he said, you know what, I'm done with this, I'm gonna buy something else. So one person dropped off the list. And then one person got one as a gift for a Christmas present, so someone else dropped off the list. And within 6 months, there was no one else in front of the list. And when this jewelry store got their allocation, I ended up with this green Rolex, which was incredibly silly. And the reason I call it silly is because if you were to survey the average Rolex owner and find out how much money they made, it would probably be much more than me. I'm probably one of the lower tier earners who owns a watch like this. That's not necessarily true because you hear these stories of people in, the Valley or in California who buy a Rolex on a credit card and they just pay it off to keep up the impression. So I'm obviously not doing that, but there has been times in my life where, business went through a slump and there were times where I had more money on my wrist than, I had in all sorts of liquid cash in the bank accounts. So there were times where I was like, wow, what an idiotic purchase. The crazy thing is that the jewelry store owner who I spoke with was absolutely right. What a great alternative investment is something that doesn't go up and down with the world economy or the stock market or real estate. It's an alternative because it behaves very differently. Now, since I bought this, lots of things have happened. We had, all sorts of different movements in the real estate markets. We have a pandemic that comes along that, reduces the stock market value by 35%. All throughout that time, this watch actually doubled in value. So I was able to buy this watch for $11,000 or $12,000, and today it's worth, if you look online, it's worth about $24,000 to $25,000 is what I could sell it for, which is absolutely outrageous. So all in all, I got pretty lucky. I bought an alternative investment that's part of my portfolio. I consider it part of my portfolio, and it's kind of worked out. But there are all sorts of alternative investments, and the reason people like to look at alternative investments is for just that reason. They want to find an investment that's not correlated, that doesn't move with all their other investments, right? If you have stocks and bonds and real estate and the economy tanks, all three of those things might experience their own volatility, their own damage. But if you're looking at collectibles, you're maybe looking at fine wine or art or collectible cars, or what's crazy? You can even make money with shoes, with trading and buying and selling sneakers.
Hey, hi, what's up guys?
Guys, this is Tom. Tom is actually the one who's helping me build this YouTube channel.
I am, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, if you're wondering why the thumbnails are crazy and the titles are so good and we're so consistent, it's because of him. What Tom is famous for is for his knowledge, his understanding, and his ability to make money on sneakers.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what I'm famous for, but it's something that I love doing for sure. Sneakers is an amazing alternative investment. I mean, there are so many shoes, not even due to their immediate popularity of if I buy this at a store, I can immediately sell it for $800 because that takes time, that takes effort, that takes luck. But you can buy shoes in the aftermarket for, let's say a shoe retails for $200 and you have to pay $800 to get it, but with a pretty high level of consistency, you can sell it in the future for $1,600, $1,800, $2,000.
That's crazy. And correct me if I'm wrong, sneakers even have an exchange.
Yes, so there's multiple apps and marketplaces where there's market determined prices for shoes, and you can see the going rate based on what people are buying and selling. It's amazing. There's almost no downside to it. Like there's never a shoe that if you buy it, you're going to lose 50% of your value if you're doing it properly.
But you have to know your stuff.
If you know your stuff, there's maybe a 10% downside volatility and then infinite upside volatility. Just the volume's the problem.
That's crazy. Okay, so then my question is what is the amount of money, if you're okay sharing, what is the amount of money that you've made by investing in alternatives or collectibles like shoes?
Yeah, I'll say off like passive, like buying things in the aftermarket, not trying to, line up for shoes or whatever, and just selling them a year and a half later.
Yeah.
Probably like $60,000 or $70,000. And this
$60,000 or $70,000.
Not much work. It's just like, oh, I think this shoe's gonna go up in value, and you buy it, and then you check back in a year, and it's like, hey, it went up in value.
Right.
So one that I actually think is gonna go up in value, which unfortunately I will not be keeping
they do
too
look
much longer.
They look sick.
But so this is a pair of Air Jordan 1 Diors, and these right now, to get these in Canada after import fees and all of that terrible stuff, these are gonna run you about $18,000 or $19,000 depending on the size.
This is the price of like a new base Honda Civic right here.
Yeah, this is
a car.
Literally the most expensive thing I've ever purchased in my life.
Really?
Yeah, these will go up in value. They're sitting at like before all the import fees. Like if you're able to buy these in the US, they run you for about 14 or 15 Canadian.
Right. And what is it about this shoe that gives you the feeling that they will go up in value? I mean, they're $18,000.
Okay, so first off, the model, the Jordan 1, this comes down to, do you know your stuff? Do you know what you're doing? Because some people might just buy random shoes and think they're gonna go up in value. The Jordan 1, everyone loves them. They're a super, super popular shoe. Without fail, you can, Jordan 1 colors that won't sell out, that aren't very popular, you could walk into a Foot Locker, buy them for whatever the sticker price is. I've done that in the past. I've walked in, cleared out their stock, bought 10, 12, 15 pairs, sat on them for the $200 that I paid for them, and then came back a year and a half later, and all of a sudden they're going for $340, $350. So the model itself is super popular. Then these are numbered out of 8,500 pairs.
There's only 8,500 pairs.
There's only 8,500 pairs ever made. They'll never make them again.
And they're partnered with Dior.
Yes, it's a collaboration with Dior, and it's a diminishing quantity of them. Like people will wear them, people will scuff them, people will lose them, whatever. So the 8,500 brand new pairs is going to go down and down and down and down and down, and the demand is going to stay the same, if not rise over time.
So what's your guess on what this could be sold for you one day?
If I were to keep these for the next 2 or 3 years, I'd feel pretty confident to say that I could sell them for at least $22,000 to $25,000. I think that's a pretty reasonable estimate.
So there's like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in them,
which is an amazing return on holding a pair of shoes in your closet for a couple of years.
That's insane. So there you have it, guys. That's my friend Tom, and he's found a way to make his own niche in trading and buying and selling, investing in collectible shoes, which is crazy. I also have other stories of people in my constituency who, do the same thing with watches, right? Patek Philippe is known as probably one of the most premium watch brands in the entire world. And I have a friend who actually made $100,000 by buying a Patek Philippe for about 100 grand and then selling it for 200 grand. So it's crazy how the price of these things can change, right? Another friend of mine who's completely unrelated to investing or anything, just someone I know, bought a 2006 Ford GT, which is a very sought after collectible car. It's a really, really fascinating vehicle. And within 6 or 7 years, that car, he had purchased it for around the $200,000 mark when there was a lull in the pricing. 5, 6, 7 years later, was able to sell that car for $500,000. So there are these weird opportunities out there where you can take advantage of an asset or a category of asset like cars or fine wines or art. We haven't even touched on art and Banksy paintings and Vincent van Gogh and people who sell these things that they own and collect them. It is crazy to think that these types of investments are out there and that they exist and that people who have the money to get involved in this get involved with it because they are an uncorrelated asset class. That is the reason people enjoy them. Now, the last thing I'll say is that there are some huge risks to this, right? Even Tom said a large piece of the success you get in managing or trading collectibles like shoes is you have to know about them. You have to really understand them. You have to really get it, because at the end of the day, this is the second risk. These aren't really assets. None of these things are producing income. A painting is just gonna be the same painting and maybe even worse in 100 years from now. A pair of shoes are gonna get scuffed up. A watch over time isn't gonna produce more watches. These aren't businesses. These aren't productive things that produce income. So it's really hard to invest when there is no income stream. Really what you're doing is you're kind of speculating. You're looking at a market and trying to see where the supply and demand is at for a different type of asset like a shoe. And if you can determine one segment where things are really undervalued and they're poised to go up in value because there's a limited edition or whatever it might be, you can actually make money through collectibles. So anyways, guys, that's just a few fascinating little stories about collectible investments, about alternative investments, and maybe something for you to think about over the course of your life. Is there some passion or hobby you have where you really know about it really well, where you could take advantage of investing within that asset class? So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're learning anything, if you feel like you're getting some value, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more videos just like this one every single week. Until next time.